name's Aian, Aian Spore, fully. Um, just joined uni, so I'm in my first year doing foundation year for film studies. For the past 2 years, I've been doing cooking. I realized it wasn't truly my passion. Um, the reason why I wanted to join Babbasa TV is it immediately seemed like a place where I could feel comfortable to learn more about um, people identifying with fame, and it just felt like a much more comfortable community to be a part of.
Hi, so my name is Dami. So full name is Oluwadamilola Okeoye, but I go by Dami for short. And I am a master's student at UWE. So I'm currently doing a master's of research in biomedical sciences in applied sciences. And why I wanted to be on Babbasa TV is because I've seen what they've done with the BME community and how like involved they are in it. And also when this collaboration with the equity team is just perfect because I've always wanted to, I've always wanted to do something like this, like be part of something this wonderful, but I haven't just had the opportunity to do that. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. Okay, so in case you haven't noticed, I'm a Black woman. And there's just so many stereotypes, and sometimes you don't even understand the impact that it's had on like you, like the way you view life, the way you react to things.
Yeah.
And stereotypes for me have always been personal because I'm literally like walking around and people just have these preconceived notions about you. They have like these things, they think, oh, this is what you represent, this is what you're going to do. They actually think they can predict your next step just because of how you look. Sometimes people hit you with some stereotypes and you're wondering like, what? Like, I didn't even know this was even possible. And then it's also a learning curve for me.
Massively. I mean, first of all, I'd say, thank you for sharing. And like, there's so many things I could already like attach myself to your experience, and that given that I'm a first generation immigrant, I mean, I was born in Philippines. I moved here quite young. I was about 3 years old. But with that in mind, I've already got the experience of being an immigrant, and that already comes with its own stereotypes itself. If we want to talk about people just having preconceived notions of what you are, it's such a weird blanket statement that being an immigrant means you're from anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the stereotypes I've had to deal with is growing up in an Asian household. There was a lot of like academic pressure. There was a lot of my dad being an engineer, my mum being a nurse. So already there's, oh, which path do I choose? And
Mm-hmm.
that was something I personally struggled with. And this was reflected through school where, as much as I love sports, I was terrible at basketball. I love rugby and I love badminton. And I think the issue I had with stereotypes growing up was it made me feel very boxed in. And whereas now what I'm learning to do is sort of accept that I don't have a box. I can be whoever I want to be.
Yeah, yeah. Like to add on to what you said about that box, and what I've always noticed is people try to fit you in a particular box, and if you
Yeah.
don't fit that box, they don't know what to do with you. They're like, okay, so what am I going to do with this person that thinks that they can be something different? I remember when I wanted to go to uni, I wanted to study architecture at first. And I remember like a lot of like family members, calling, trying to tell me, oh, at first, the first argument they had was my parents are wasting money sending the girl to school. That was the first argument they had.
Yeah.
And when they came with my father with that, my dad was like, you can't tell me what to spend my money on. Like, this is my child. Like, whatever she wants to do, she can do. Like,
I
you
love
have
that.
no say on
I
what
love
she
that.
wants to do. They were like, oh, she's going to get married anyway, so why are you spending money on her? Someone else someone else is going to come and reap the fruit of your labor. And my dad is like, she's a human being. Like, this is literally a human being you're talking about. Whatever she wants to do, she can do it. And apart from that aspect, right, there's also the part of people saying, oh, the architecture world is not for women, or don't do architecture, don't do this, don't do that. Even now that I'm doing biomedical science, when I came back to do my master's, there's that stereotype of if you get too educated, like people will not want to be around you. If you get to there's those stereotypes that you, when you think about them, you're like, what? Like, how do people think this way?
I think one of the strangest thing about stereotypes is, coming from what you're saying, it's one way or another, you're going to disappoint some people.
Yes.
You succeed the stereotype, you sort of disappoint yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
don't succeed the stereotype, then you potentially fail your community or people who hold those stereotypes like close to their heart. In some sense, it's kind of empowering that stereotypes exist because that way there's something to reach, to beat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, but if they didn't, then that'd be fine because we all just be living freely and just sort of maybe we don't go to university, maybe we do.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think generally, yeah, like I said earlier, I think generally it's still a good journey, especially for the both of us. Like just
Yeah.
get to that level of acceptance.
Yeah. Like, to bounce off of what you said about like stereotypes, pushing us to greatness.
Yeah.
I want to share something. So I remember when I was in college, I don't really, okay, I'm going to talk about this, but I'm not going to mention names. But when I was in college, I did college in the UK here. And I remember the class I was in, I was the only black person, like literally the only black person. And it was all Asians. And the only funny thing is, like, I never felt weird about around like my classmates or my classmates. Like, we're totally like, till now, every single one of us, we literally are still like the best of friends and everything, like, which is perfect. And I remember, like, when I came to college, I was fresh out of Nigeria. I was thinking, okay, there's this stereotype of Asians, like you mentioned, like, oh, they're so book smart and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember I came to college and I'm still making friends, and I thought, oh my goodness, like, these people are actually going to be like so brilliant. They're going to, I know there's that Nigerian thing in me, like, oh, I have to do well, like I have to defeat all the stereotypes of my father wasting his money and stuff like that. It was so much in my head. And I remember, like, when I met some of my friends, they literally like, oh, let's go out for drinks. I was like, you're drinking? Don't you see that there is fire on the mountain? Like, you literally have to get all A's and you're talking about having a drink. And I had like all of that. I was literally having so much anxiety, like, oh my goodness,
Mm,
like, oh, like, what should I do? Should I just keep studying? At the point I wasn't sleeping, I was like, I need to study, I need to study, I need to study, I need to
yeah.
study. Because I was like, okay, I have to beat these people. And I was just wondering, like, after like a few months, I was like, what kind of stress was that? Like, why do I feel like I have to beat people just because I want to be
Mm,
successful? Like, you can have your own success on your own. Like, someone else succeeding at whatever they do doesn't undermine your success. So
exactly.
I had to realize that, because every single thing that was in my head was, okay, all these Asians, they're my friends, right? But
Yeah.
when the grades come out, I want to be at the top. And one other thing that happened was, we had this lecturer, and he literally was talking to another lecturer, and I was behind the door, because I used to go to college. I was that crazy person. I'll go to college by like 6 a.m. Lectures don't start till 9. I'll go in by 6 so I can read. Do you know how crazy I was? I would literally go and read about the lecture. So if they're teaching us about a particular topic, I would go and read about it, so that when I get to the lecture, I'm not going to answer any questions or anything, but so
Mm,
that when they're talking about it, it's just like a refresher for me. Like, I just need to,
yeah.
however, I was that crazy person just because I was like, I can't fail. And I remember he was talking to someone, and he was talking about, oh, because I was the only black person in my class, and he was telling someone that, oh, Asians do better than Africans anyway. So he was like, because he saw me in the lecture, he saw me in the classroom, but the thing is that he didn't know that I was like, because he saw me from the window, so he didn't know that I was towards the door. And he was like, oh, Asians do better than Africans anyway, so why does she bother? And when I tell you, when he said that, it literally struck my spirit, because I was just wondering, like, I never, like, of course, I knew that Asians did well and everything, but I've never heard someone actually say that, like,
That's
Asians
all.
do better
Yeah.
than me just because I'm black. But then I just felt like, someone else's success shouldn't undermine yours. Like, you shouldn't
No,
let
absolutely.
people push their stereotypes on you.
With stereotypes is it doesn't consider what goes on in the rest of your life. It's sort of it's a massive
Mm-hmm.
standard which you feel like, oh, I have to achieve this, I have to do this. But then you sort of forget about yourself. You forget
Yeah.
about, oh, what about my rest? What about my education? What about my capacity? That's the issue with stereotypes, that it's built such a environment for us where even saying, I'm not really the stereotype you're thinking of, it's an exhausting like conversation to have. Like again, being a young Asian man, there's going to be people who, like, for example, music. People are going to assume what music I listen to, and I listen
Yeah.
to such a broad spectrum of music. I'll listen to
Oh
most
my
things,
goodness.
and it's these little things that, and I think really one of the things I think you brought up earlier, that even from people within the Asian community, some of them are even quite conservative about, like, myself. They say, like, I've had conversations with people like, "Are you really Asian?" And I think that's what hurts the most. It's like, from
Mm.
people from my own community to question my Asianness. It hurts because, like, I didn't ask to be born in the Philippines and immigrate to the UK.
Yeah,
I've sort of
seriously.
I've had to adjust and I've had to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, I don't look at it as if they don't see my Asianness, because that is, again, Asia is billions of people. So, we can't just, like, not all Filipinos are the same, not all Indian people are the same. There are
Yeah,
billions of people there.
yeah,
And again, like, to come back to the issue I find with stereotypes is, it's just an unnecessary box. Like, we're all individuals. Obviously, we have similarities and
mhm,
we share struggles and such, but it's just such a, how do I say this? It just stops progress. That's all it does. It just stops
yeah,
progress, to be honest.
yeah.
But I think any advice I could give to people wanting to, deal with stereotypes or how to sort of accept them is, at the end of the day, like I said earlier, no two people are the same. You can have similar features, you can have similar upbringings, but at the same time, you put two people in a room and they're going to look at the room differently. And it sounds so simple, but it is true. You're going to look at things from a different perspective. So I think the best advice I can give to someone is just breathe and just say you're going to make your own journey, and that's perfectly fine. You're going to make mistakes, but we all are, and we're all different. I think really that's the best advice I can give.
Totally. What I would say is just have at the back of your head, you can even write it down and just be like, people are going to talk regardless. Because if you're living your life based on what people are going to say about you, you're just going to be stagnant and you're not going to achieve anything. It's like
Mm,
you're running a race and you're turning back to see who is coming behind you. You're obviously you're going to stagger, you're going to fall, and your race is definitely like over. So you can't live your life based on the assumptions people have of you. People are going to think, like, that's what makes us dynamic human beings, the
absolutely.
ability to have individual thoughts. So people are going to have opinions, people are going to have presumptions about you, but you literally need to live your best life. At the end of the day, you have just one life. Like we said in my language, like you have just one. If you
Mm.
die, that's it. Like you can't come
Yeah.
back. That's it. So you can't live your life being scared or live your life, trying to
Mm.
fit into a box. When you have just one, why not live it the best way that you can and leave a
Mm.
mark, leave an imprint. When you're gone, let people know that, okay, this person actually came and, like, person lived this best life. Of
Yeah.
course, live your best life with reason. Don't go crazy too much, but
Yeah.
you know, just live your best life because people are going to talk regardless. So yeah, that would be
That's
my
true.
advice.
That's perfect.